welcome back to KingWoes Court. It's a special episode tonight. I can't remember what number, 37, maybe 36. I don't know. I'm not that professional. But we've just heard the awful news about Joey Jordinson passing away at age 46, which is very, very sad to hear. We also had Mike Howe from Metal Church the same day. And then just today, it was Dusty Hill from ZZ Top. That's three, as a great man once said earlier on, they come in threes.
It does, man. Yeah, it's truth.
It's unfortunate, but we're just gonna have a little chat about Joey Jordison tonight, because I know a lot of Irish metal bands and a lot of musicians really, really, really enjoyed this man's music and his work. So we'll just have a little tribute to him. Tonight I'm joined by Conor Jordan. Conor, how are you, my man?
Doing all right, given the circumstances. This doesn't feel real.
I know.
It doesn't feel real to have someone that big die at 46.
Yeah, it's crazy when you think about it. I mean, it's like I was just thinking about it. I'd say between himself and probably Corey Taylor, they've probably influenced an awful lot of musicians.
Yeah,
you know.
I say for musicians my age, a lot of them got into metal via Slipknot.
Yeah,
that I think all my mates who are the same age as me, 90% of them got into a true Slipknot or something like that.
They were a perfect gateway band. Yeah. Snap, Tony.
Very important band. Everybody knew about them.
Yeah.
I
mean, there you go, Jason. You're wearing your Slipknot t-shirt. There you go. I mean, it's perfect. I personally feel, I know I'm the oldest here on this little panel tonight, but I've seen them 6 times or something, and every time I've loved them. You know,
phenomenal.
Yeah, I've seen them. I've only ever seen them with Joey. You know,
I've never seen them with Joey.
Oh my God!
Never know.
I've seen them twice, but it was both Jay Weinberg. Never seen them before.
And of course, Jay's a good drummer in his own right. He is.
He's unreal.
Well, he had massive shoes to fill, and he did a really good job.
Yeah, absolutely.
No one could have done a better job of it.
Yeah, I mean, we Tom, how's it going, brother? How are you keeping? I'm going to introduce us all individually, and
good.
What's your take on old Joey going?
I mean, I don't think there's such a thing as a self-respecting 25-plus-year-old metalhead that wasn't absolutely obsessed with Slipknot when they were a teenager. Certainly, for me, everybody talks about their musically formative years as when they were a teenager or whatever. And I remember getting into Slipknot 14, 15, and kind of thinking about wanting to play drums. And he was one big influence for me, along with him, with the likes of Dave Lombardo, Igor Cavalera, Gene Hogan. But he was a big, very instrumental part in that. And Iowa was a huge thing as well. I remember the first time I heard Left Behind, I saw the video for Left Behind on Skulls when I was fucking 14 or 15, and it blew my fucking mind. You know? So yeah, very, 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 very upsetting, and just left an indelible mark on extreme music and modern metal in general, what we now consider modern metal. He's left he left a huge mark on that, you know. So
he absolutely.
A lot of bands coming out now will kind of take pages from the Slipknot book. You know what I mean? A lot of drummers will take pages from the Joey Jordison book of playing drums. You know what I mean? So very, very sad.
I think my my favorite drummer is Dave Lombardo, but Joey is right up there. He is right up there, and you know, and it was a pity that we never got to see him kind of reunite with the lads. You know.
Yeah.
I never got to see them. I've never seen Slipknot. I never got to see him play, and I'm kicking myself now that I never got to see him.
It's one of them bands, man, you think to be around forever, and you know, a lot of musicians are invincible, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't expect that to somebody who's only 10 years older than me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's just nuts.
We all had that pipe dream of one day Joey coming back for even a show or a tour.
That's exactly it, man.
for that moment, and now that it's gone, it's just like, it's heartbreaking. And I know isn't there some music that he was on kind of around the All Hope Is Gone era. I think
yeah,
had extra
that's get a release date eventually, but I think Clown was talking about recently, and he said that it'll come out when the time is right. So I assume this is going to be
the time is
one of
really
those things.
for the
Clown's not sure. Clown's not sure
the-
about. Clown's not sure about trying to make a book either. So.
Oh yeah.
I
He's
do
not-
wonder what the official Slipknot response is going to be, given the relationship between those two was not good recently. I know Joey was proud of what he did with Slipknot, but reading between the lines of what Corey's saying, it does not look like Slipknot want to have a relationship with Joey at all. So I'm going to be interested to see what their official line is, besides just blacking out social media.
Yeah, I seen that already.
I'd say their time, like it's even with their situation, it's a very hard thing to approach, I'd say, on anyone's behalf, because nobody really knows what's going on. We know what he
we only know what we see.
Yeah.
So
They're blacking out their social media as a nod, saying, "Look, lads, we know." That's what that is, and it's a kind of a nod or whatever. But like a band of that magnitude and that size, they're going to have to release like a really good official statement, because the band is bigger than the sum of its parts, even.
Absolutely.
And even if they were, regardless of if they were on good or bad terms with Joey, he was still like a massive part of that band for the best part of like 15, 20 years. You know what I mean? He's still a huge part of it. Like, so it's not like they can be like, oh, we're gonna write it off or whatever. Like, they're still gonna have
there's
to.
no way they would. There's no
to be
way.
like.
I believe Joey wrote the original S, and like stuff like that. It goes on with the band's history forever. Like, they'll never be away from
no way.
Legacy.
Well, I mean,
he was their main musical director. Like, he produced one of their albums, but I know officially they had Ross Robinson or Rick Rubin producing their albums while he was with the band. But he was the one sitting beside him. Like, let's face it, every band, when they go to the studio, has that one member who's there at every session, who's very much watching the producing closely. Joey was that member for years.
But you could even see him like that in the Roadrunner United project as well. Like, it was fair enough. Like he was a team lead and that kind of side of things. But you could see why the guy, like, he was such a strong songwriter and an integral part of that project there, as well as Slipknot.
Absolutely.
The very
All Hope Is Gone was probably the only record that was like recorded completely separately, where they weren't sitting in on each other's bars and stuff like that. But going back to what Cormac said, regardless if the whole relationship between the members was quite bad at the time, I think all it was them separating the actual brotherhood from business. And I think it's business that was bad between them, because like, even when you look at Corey's responses when he was talking about Joey, he was always trying to protect them. Like, he was never given away any insights on what was going on within the band and stuff like that. And statements that were quite neutral.
Damian, welcome. How's it going, my man? Tell me the influence that Joey's playing had on your style and your career so far, man.
It was absolutely massive, and I mean, like, even beyond Slipknot, everything that he did after and in between Murder Dolls, he did stuff with Ministry, even seeing him playing with Korn and Rob Zombie and all that. He was just a phenomenal musician, and his way to adapt various musical styles was a huge influence on me, especially with the Roadrunner stuff. But in terms of drums, definitely the whole Iowa records, when it came out, it really kicked my ass to start working on my kicks. And seeing the whole Disaster Pieces DVD really kind of showed me how it's done, and inspired me to do better in that regard. Like, in terms of my playing, you can hear it in my kicks and my fills, definitely. And like, in my early teens, he was the influence for me. Like,
yeah, understandable, absolutely. And yeah, watching Disaster Pieces paid off for you, all right, absolutely. Yeah. Jason, another one of our top drummers in the country, along with two of them here with them, I mean, it's great to have three fantastic drummers here to talk about this. Tell me what your thoughts on Joey are.
Yeah, like he was I remember actually on a poster. I remember my brother had a band, and I was in this band practice with him, and I'd heard Slipknot. You know, my brothers had the CDs, and you know, all the greats like Conor and Slipknot, and I was a little kid listening through these, and I go to my brother's band space, and they played some Slipknot songs, and they had you know, the poster when he put out his snare drum. That one.
Oh yeah.
I remember looking at that poster and watch my brother and his mates play these songs and thinking like, holy fuck, how is this, you know, real? Like being in a room with a drummer, you know, good friend of mine Niall, and then he had that signature snare drum, and I remember always going like, you know, I've heard this music on a CD, I heard, you know, my brother playing it, and it's so different, and it took me because nothing else was like that out there, you know. And you know, early Slipknot came in on the scene, like there was absolutely nothing like that, and you know, just from a whole attitude point of view, like it wasn't about just music or anything. He had a character that he brought to on stage. You know, he didn't have to be just this normal guy. He was whatever the music was, and that showed in his playing. Like he wasn't just being a metal drummer. He was, you know, theatrical in how he played and performed, and you know, how he created. And it's just above and beyond kind of what I had seen back then. And you know, hearing that type of drumming, and it was just like, you know, if that's something that's possible, that's what I want to do. And then like later on today, like I've been kind of deep diving his videos, like I'm sure many have, having a good old cry, like I'm sure many have over this. And I was watching like a Drum Talk has a great video with him. I just watched it, and he talks a lot about Roadrunner and talks about him as a musician and what he likes. And he's like, go learn your basics. And he's just like, go play with other musicians, because you'll learn the most trying to do simple things, trying to collab with other people. You know, he loved working with different musicians, like seeing him play with Korn and, you know, Metallica and all those. He was just like, he was always trying to expand himself, even though he was one of the greats. And that always blew me away, trying to like, how can he think he could be greater? You know, if I have that drive, then, you know, that's what
pushing
inspired
boundaries.
Me.
Yeah.
It's always pushing boundaries, you know.
I mean, we're all using that kind of way of thinking for what we're doing at the moment with Ashuri, I think. So
that's what I love seeing in that video, was just like that sense of collab was so important to him, like being part of the metal community, being part of different bands. He spoke a lot about like genres. He said, go listen to genres and play genres you're not comfortable. Like this whole Shire thing it really reminded me of that. Like I'm playing a death metal style song when I'm in like a not that sort of style band, and you know, that's what he was like. He could innovate in any area, but he was also just one of the best in metal, you know. But for the community, for the musicians, for the bands, everything, you know, he held the flag for it all.
Yeah. Tony, how's it going, my man?
Oh, good, man. Yeah, thank you for having us on.
Absolutely. Talk to me.
Jesus, yeah. Like I think this is probably the third musician that's like hit me real hard. Like one of my big influences after the likes of like Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell. I remember or even Dimebag, even to go back even further there, like, but like this is just one of these guys that I grew up listening to through my formative years. Do you know what I mean? Coming out of being basically a 12-year-old kid into when the first album, to me, to all of us, we would call it, you know, the self-title. We wouldn't have been privy to see the album before that. Do you know what I mean? That was the one that was heavily promoted, obviously. I remember hearing, I think it was Wade and Bleed the first time, and a friend had it on a cassette tape and had handed it to me with a bunch of other like Marilyn Manson stuff right like that. And it just blew me away, but the drumming in particular, you know, the singing and all that aside right like that, but then the drumming, and I thought that like Joey's mask was the coolest mask out of them all. I thought it was really cool. I liked that he was a short arse. Like I was a short arse. He's only a small lad and he was a real powerhouse, you know, behind the kid. And much like what the boys had said there as well, it was like he was a real showman. He wasn't just a drummer that just fucked around on the kit, and he could play fast. He was able to rile up the crowd, and he's a real performer. And like inadvertently there, yeah, like I grew up obviously as maybe playing guitar and a singer or anything like that, but seeing your idols and that putting on, that's how a show was put on. Do you know what I mean? We all know that Slipknot was a mad fucking circus on stage anyway. But yeah, just you're trying to push yourself like that. When you go and play a gig, that's how it's fucking done.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how you perform. Like, you don't just sit back, you give it all you got, like. And yeah, it's just mad. It's real saddening to just see another one of the greats gone, because he was one of the greats, you know.
Yeah.
And he'll go down in history as one of the greats.
And isn't it crazy? We may not have known these people personally, but we feel like we know them because we've been listening to them most of our lives. And
Yeah.
that's when it hits you. And you know, like I was like that when Jeff Hanneman died, because like I've been listening to Slayer all my life, you know. And
I'd say everybody here would know, you know, when they first heard Slipknot, they can remember where they were. Do you know what I mean? Or they're in their bedroom or with their friends or whatever it is. It comes right back to you. And like, you listen to albums there like Iowa, and like the boys had said there, you know, first time seeing Left Behind, seeing that video.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was probably one of the first bands who done videos like that were like a movie. Do you know, like how fucked up that video was? Like, it's real mad. It was just that, you know. A lot of other videos before them, maybe kind of, I don't know, like a live performance or whatever it was, but the lads had really, and I suppose that was down to Clown as well, like in his direction and vision and everything, but that was just ingrained in your head. You know, they were meant to be the scary band, you know.
I don't think I've ever seen a band with so many T-shirts around the central bank. Slipknot. You know, I mean, as a compliment.
Oh,
to
yeah,
man.
Really
getting slagged off in school. Slipknot.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
But I have to say, I always
would have said Lipsnot.
Lipsnot.
Yeah.
I always got the impression, I never met the man, but I always got the impression he was always a time for his fans and was always good to his fans. You just got
seemed genuine.
There's actually a really good video out there of Joey. I think he was playing with either Vimic or Scardamart or something like that, where he was playing the smaller crowds. They went down to South America, and Joey ended up outside a hotel or something, surrounded by fans. And he didn't just sign autographs or say hi to them politely. Someone gave him an acoustic guitar. He sat there and played sick for them all.
I remember hearing that or seeing that at some point in my life, man. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think he even gave a little speech thanking them all for all the support they've given him and for making Slipknot as big as it was.
Yeah, that's giving back. That's what you want.
Yeah.
When you hear that about someone, you just respect them even more. You really do. You know.
You can definitely see the Golden Gods Awards video when they give him, I think it was 2016 maybe. And his speech is so humble. Like the guy, you know, the hardest thank you he has to do in that whole speech was, you know, thanking his wife or his missus. And like, it was so nice to see, like, he's so invested in how his family's a part of it, all the fans, all the bands he's played with. He barely talked about himself. It was just all the people that are around him, you know. You could really see that through in him. So he's a very humble guy.
And having to play his last couple of Slipknot shows, he was so destroyed by MS.
Yeah.
And he was in so much pain. Apparently, he had to be carried on and off stage, and like everything he played was like straight laced, no fuck ups, no mistakes, and he was just there's so much pain, and then you just had to be fucking carried off stage, and then he was like, I'm finished with Slipknot, like. So
he did it, and he did it for
suffering for his art.
Yeah, absolutely. And
like absolutely,
absolutely legend, like, you know.
What an amazing feat to come back from a career-stopping disease and having the willpower to go on with it, and like having the drama of it being out of Slipknot, and probably the I can't imagine what he was thinking going through when he was, you know, that deteriorating while playing Slipknot shows. Like, it must have been crazy on his head, let alone his physical time doing those things, and to get the mentality to come back and fight it, you know, it's amazing feat for him to pull back together and come back with bands and music, and you know.
Absolutely. Just a quick question for the drummers here. Are you thinking about maybe doing a tribute drum video, maybe?
I did.
You did one today, Damian, did you?
But it's only like a minute clip, but it's coming out tomorrow.
Okay.
I did one for Disaster.
Cool. And boys, are you gonna think you do one maybe?
My drum video editing skills aren't very great.
What would you do if you were gonna do one, though, Tom? If you were gonna do one, what would you do?
If I was to do one, I don't know. I'd probably do like, fuck. Probably like I'd do like Left Behind, or I'd do Duality, or like Before I Forget, or something.
Yeah, deadly tracks. Jason, what would you do? Are you gonna do one actually?
I might do something. It'd be a shame not to. Like, I have the Joey signature snare drum, and all that sort of stuff. I probably have a mask I've made some year ago. Like we all probably made the Joey masks.
Throw it on.
Yeah.
I may need to go grab my old jumpsuit and mask from the Slipknot tribute days.
Yeah, man.
Oh,
When
that's
you were
right,
in
you
college,
were-
you done that, didn't you?
Yeah, that's kind of hit a whole bunch of us hard. It's like we were all lads who just all met via Slipknot.
Mm.
We got the offer to do a Slipknot tribute band. We had some amazing gigs doing it. We had to stop it just because it made Slipknot not fun for us anymore, having to dissect the music that.
Yeah.
I get you, yeah.
Yeah, those shows were fun, even if I nearly broke my back on it.
Do you have a keg and a baseball bat?
Yeah, we had the keg.
Oh, really?
I nearly broke my back on it. What happened was we were playing downstairs in Fibbers. We did spit it out because obviously you have to.
Well,
And then we were doing the whole jump the fuck up. We all went into the crowd. Steve brought his mic, and he didn't have a wireless. He had a straight wired mic going through the crowd.
Yeah, Steve Cannon,
I got
wasn't it?
pushed around as normal. And because downstairs is so small, we put the keg in the mid, like to the left of the pits.
Deadly.
I got knocked backwards over the leads. My back went straight over the keg. I just
Spinal, sir.
limped over to my little area, did the snare for servicing, and I just limped back home.
Jesus Christ.
Um,
See the clip from The Simpsons where he fixes his back falling over the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. Spinomatic or something.
Keg, or did
Yeah.
Levy just lend you an empty keg, or did you buy? Did you have the keg that you own?
No, we actually found a keg. Actually, we found two kegs. What happened was back when we were all in BIM, we did a Sick for an End of Term show, and we managed to just find a keg lying about.
No,
We decided to use that. And one day, like we were all getting the bus back from rehearsal to go to the studio. One lad just brought the keg on the bus. Someone took a picture of it, it went viral, going, "Lovely day for the cans." And yeah, we brought it to the Bug Factory, did the gig with it. We had to actually mic up the keg.
That was brilliant.
I'd say you were.
That was hilarious. We lost that one, and then
Still
we
keg is
started
like
doing the
this
Slipknot thing
fucking waste
again.
of an
We
FM57.
sucked. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we somehow found another keg and we started transporting that everywhere for the gigs. And I have no idea where that currently is, unfortunately. Don't think anyone's going to take it.
Shit by the time you were done with it.
Oh, it was battered.
I have to say, lads, what really brought Joey to the forefront was when he played with Metallica, whether we like that or not. What I mean by that is, he was, worldwide after that, really. I mean, he was big enough in his own right, but when he filled in, him and Lombardo played those tracks at the download with Metallica.
Oh, to a different audience.
Gee,
Maybe
and
some
but
of the
like,
older
he
audience that wasn't into that.
He was, yeah, I think that's probably what I'm trying to say. Like the likes of the older people who may have laughed at Slipknot or whatever, when they saw him playing better than fucking Lars Ulrich.
Yeah.
I mean,
Andy Copping, the main promoter of Download, actually put out a story today where he said originally Metallica had the option of cancel it or somehow find another drummer. They were urging towards cancel because they went to a lot of drummers backstage at Download, and all of them said no. Either they couldn't play it or they're too terrified to go out to that sort of audience.
Wow.
They saw Dave and they saw Joey. Joey said, "Yes, I'll do it." He's not going to turn down the chance to play with Metallica. And he did it. And imagine getting that sort of reputation. Metallica put their belief in you to play with them.
Yeah. And I mean, he played most of the songs, didn't he?
Yeah, he did most of the tracks. I think Dave Lombardo did the 2 or 3. Then Fleming, then Lars Tech did one track just for the hell of it.
Yeah. That would have been a great experience, wouldn't it, to see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Supposedly he was supposed to play a lot more songs. Klein put up a story about it not too long ago, where when they came up and asked Joey, Joey said, yeah. Because like Joey said Lars is one of his biggest inspirations. So he's like never turned it down a chance to play, on his chair, and like he's practiced the songs his whole youth coming up. But Clown said he was outside the little practice room they had, and they played like another third board of songs, but they never brought those to stage. They only just took a few. So supposedly a lot more songs they jammed. So it would have been amazing to see the whole thing. That's it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so I mean, there's nothing else really we can say. I mean, it's nice to be able to share stories about a man who we all hold in the highest regard, you know.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
I think we need to mention his other band, Murder Dolls, because that had a big effect on the world of horror punk and really launched Wednesday 13. Wednesday 13 put out a good post today, basically saying, talking about thank you for giving me a career, because Joey saw the talent Wednesday was. He gave them the chance. And if you see some of the early Murder Dolls shows, you can see the guys in the Murder Dolls recognize this is my chance at success playing in a stadium in Japan. And you could see the hunger in their eyes. I constantly love looking at that video. Just kind of remind myself, this is what a hungry band looks like.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and a great band too. A band I wouldn't have been into, but the fact I seen Joey and I was like, I'll give them a go. But I was it wasn't my scene. And then when I was listening, I fucking loved it. Great songwriting.
Yeah,
I really liked them at that time. I was like 16, and it was a friend Mark. It was actually a guy that was in the band with, and it was his brother Gary was big into them, and he was like, "Did you ever hear this band Murder Dolls?" And I was like, "No, man, never heard them before." I'd heard your man's vocals, and I says, "Oh fuck, that reminds me of White Zombie." That's what I knew at the time, Rob Zombie, because of the effects that your man had on his voice. And he was like, "I bet you don't know who this guy is." And he showed me like photos, and I was like, "Is that fucking Joey Jordison?" He's like, "Yeah, man, he plays guitar as well." Do you know? I was like, fucking mind blown. Do you know what I mean? So how can you be that talented? Like, 16 years of age trying to fuck around on the guitar, and this guy is just light years ahead of you. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
Fantastic musician, absolutely.
Yeah, I think
I really loved his latest band since signing him. I thought they were really cool as well.
Fucking class.
I thought they were deadly. I thought they were very good.
I liked how he really kept in touch with those death metal, black metal roots. You see some kind of members of Slipknot, they kind of faded away from the extreme metal stuff. He launched into it. Like, he was filling in with Satyricon, like filling in for Frost, the fastest black metal drummer in the world.
You say he was well able to keep
with
up
Satyricon, that he couldn't have had that much money to pay him anyway. No. So he probably just did it out of the love of his heart.
Well, I'd say at that stage he would have had enough money himself. So yeah, he was doing that for fun. Fair folks doing like great to get to that level of your craft where you can do shit for fun,
Exactly, trying to go back to what made you hungry in the first place, or just challenge, like again, like what one of the boys touched on. I think it was Jason had said it. Really pushing the boundary and challenging himself and doing shit outside of his wheelhouse. Just for the shits and giggles, just to test himself. Like,
absolutely.
Sorry,
Damian.
And then there was the Scar the Martyr and Dziennik stuff. It's phenomenal material. Like, it's a pity that the Dziennik record never came out. Hopefully it might now, but let's see what happens.
Hopefully.
Yeah, man.
Gents, we're gonna wrap up now. Like I was saying, it was just a little short tribute to the man.
Yeah, for sure.
It's been great to chat to you all about little stories and memories about Slipknot. But I did ask the drummers about. But give me your favorite tracks from Slipknot before we go. Cormac, give me two of them.
Straight off the bat, I gotta say, Disaster Pieces. I'd probably Wait and Bleed, for that's the track that got me into Slipknot.
Nice. Tommy, what we got?
God damn. Probably Left Behind and maybe Vendetta.
Nice choice.
Yeah.
Nice choice. Damian, what we got?
And The Blister Exists, and I'll go with the Heretic Anthem.
Nice. Jason, what you got for me?
It's got to be Sick for like the most song that blew me away. Like, from it's crazy to that, and then kind of like Vermilion or Snuff, because it's like it's not their most metal songs, but his drumming was just so unique in those tunes. So probably like the drumming and Snuff is just phenomenal when it comes into that ending of the tune.
Yeah, Tony, what you got?
I'd have to say now, Heretic Anthem. surfacing just for that guitar at the start of it, and that, so it just creeped the fuck out of me, you know.
Brilliant. I have to say, Duality and Heretic Anthem for me. Just, I mean, like I'm sure we could all pick 10 or 12, but just off the top of my head, they're probably two of my all-time favorites.
Yeah.
But gents, it's been an absolute pleasure having a little chat with you about this kind of stuff. I'm sure the next time we all see each other, we'll be talking about a Shirey.
Hopefully, man.
Hopefully we can do it in person.
Yes.
Exactly.
Here's hoping. But anyway, like I was saying, we just wanted to give a little tribute out to Joey, and you know, may he rest in peace and all that.
Fucking right, man.
Gents, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for coming out to the court.
Cheers, lads.
Cheers,
Adios.
Carl.
Adios.
Bye.
I won't let you